Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the Spanish Breakfast Show live on U2 Spain. I'm Skatz, and in today's show, I'll be talking to my first actual Spanish guest, believe it or not, who is an accountant or gestor, all about being self-employed or autonomo in Spain. So you'll find out about registration, taxes, expenses, invoicing, social security, and lots more. And as usual on this program, you can ask your questions live right now in the chat box, or if you haven't already asked me on Facebook, or if you're not watching live, then ask in the comments below. Either way, I'll get you the answers you need. And Liz, my wife, is looking in on the chat under the name U2 Yoga, and she'll be helping out. And so without further ado, let's meet my guest for today. It is Antonio from Historia Lizana. Good morning, Antonio.
Good morning, Andrew. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very, very good. Good. And thanks so much for coming on the show. You've given up part of a karate session with your son to be with us today, which is very generous of you.
Thanks to you for inviting us.
You're welcome. So you are what they call a gestor, aren't you? So tell us briefly what you do and what services you provide.
Well, that's a good question. A lot of people don't know exactly what a gestor is. Even Spaniards, so it's a good question. Really. So normally gestor or assessor is a word that sometimes is used as similar, but there are a few differences. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit the difference. Gestor is a person that deals in behalf of citizen with the public statement, with all of them, but the core whole, which is the lawyer's business. Okay. So a gestor can deal with the Social Security office, the tax office, any statement of the autonomies, Junta de Andalucia, or Comunidad de Madrid, or Comunidad Valenciana, with the town hall, with, as I said, with any except the core hall. We cannot go to in front of a judge because we have to be solicitor or lawyer to do that.
Okay.
But this is the differences between lawyer and gestor. That's different. And another difference between a gestor and an assessor is that we normally deliver similar services in the way of accountancy and book tenant and submitting forms for the tax office, etc. But an assessor is a free profession. Anyone, you tomorrow, if you want, you can open an asesoría without proving any kind of formation or anything. You just do the registration and you put a local and you open an asesoría. But to be gestor, you have to pass a grade. You have to have, there are 4 grades. Well, there are lawyers. I did, for example, Administración de Empresas, which is business grade. And after that, you have to pass an exam to become gestor. And you have to join a society of gestores, which means that you are always, every year, every month actually, doing formation for upgrading your skills on regarding taxes, regarding social security, etc. And you have your society behind you. So all the gestors, we have a civil liability insurance that cover our activity. So if we do something bad, our society is behind us to cover any problem that the client can have. If they get a fine for my fault, they are not going to pay that. My society has an insurance liability that will cover that. You don't have this with an assessor. If you have a problem, you have to claim against the assessor or going to a court hall, which is a big difference. So that's mainly the difference.
Good. So you're very safe with a gestor.
Well, you'll be safer. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So, some questions about self-employment then. What does it mean to be self-employed in Spain?
Well, being self-employed in Spain, as in any other country, is just develop an activity for your own without being employee of another business. So if you want to develop an activity as a self-employed, for example, in the UK, it's quite flexible and quite easy to do it. But in Spain, the red tape is a bit harder. So you have to meet a few commitments to do it, and you have to do a lot of steps to become self-employed, doing the registration in the tax office, in the social security office. So we can chat about these steps if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the process.
So about the process, we have to do a registration firstly on the tax office for the self-employed, and we have to be very specific. We have to make a lot of questions to the client to know exactly what's the activity or activities that they are going to deliver, because we have to declare in the tax office the activity code that belongs to this activity that is being developed. So sometimes we need one code, sometimes we need a few. There are activities that are subject to VAT. There are others that are not subject to VAT. For example, if you are developing English teaching, English classes, this is free of VAT. You don't have to apply VAT on that. But if you are developing, for example, yoga classes, this is subject to 21% of VAT. So we have to find the code, and there are other activities as marketing or new activities that you have to think that the list of code of activities was done in the 80s. So, and it haven't been updated ever. So sometimes with new professions, it's a bit hard to find a code for it, and we have to find a few that are a little bit joker that we have to drop people on that code when we can find another specific code for it. And we have to open a few.
It's going to be interesting for me because I'm a puppeteer, amongst other things.
It will be difficult to find this one. No doubt.
Actually, I've had a question online from where is it now? Chris Holmes. Thank you, Chris, for your question. Once you have Autonomo status, can you have as many businesses as you want under the Autonomo umbrella? So this is all about activity codes, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as you find one separate activity code for each activity, you can develop 20 different businesses if you want. As far as you, of course, make the invoices for all them to declare the income separately. We will probably talk later about how to do bills, invoices, etc. So I will explain you then how to manage when you have different activities. But the answer is yes, no doubt. You can develop the activity, and the cost of the self-employed, the social security contribution, are the same if you are developing one activity or 30. It doesn't matter. You will pay always the same. Okay.
So this has a lot to do with the next question, which is all about business names and trade names. So presumably you can have lots of different trading names for your different businesses, but you have one business name. That's the one that you deal with, just the umbrella.
Yeah, well, the business name or the official name is actually your name. I mean, if you are John Doe, your official name is John Doe. And in Spain, when you come to Spain, you get NIE number. This number is equal to the DNI for Spaniards, and is their identification number, which lasts forever. When you get it, this number is for you forever. So your tax code, differently of the UK, we don't have a tax code specifically. The tax code is the same, DNI for Spaniard or NIE, sorry, for foreigners. So when your complete details of which is what you have to show on your official paperwork, on your invoices, contracts with clients, etc., is your complete name, second name if you have, and surname, your NI number, and your actual address. That's the complete information that you have to always fill in all the official paperwork that you have to deliver on the business. Beside of that, if you want to have a commercial name, you can. And for example, if you produce a contract or a publicity or in your website, for example, you can have a commercial name. For example, my commercial name is Gestoria Lizana. And for the services that we offer for expat, we have another commercial name, which is paperwork.es, which is our new website for expat. So we have this commercial name, but the official name is still my name, because I'm Gestor, and I'm developing the activity as an individual. I'm self-employed as well. I don't have an SL. I develop the activity with my name, as most gestors do. And so my official name is Antonio Lizana, but my commercial name is Gestoria Lizana or paperwork.es. Actually, I have the registration of this commercial name in the brand office in Madrid, which means that no one else can use this commercial name in Spain but me. Okay, so it's something that I always advise my client to make this registration if they want to be sure that no one else can use this name. And more important than this, no one else can say in the future, you can't use this name because I'm registering it. Okay, so this is basically the differences between the commercial name and the official name or the fiscal name.
Excellent. So let's go on to talk about social security payments. There's so you, as a self-employed person, you pay into the social security and you get healthcare cover because of that. And there's a special rate for new entrepreneurs as well. Tell us about that.
That's right. Well, when you register as a self-employed, you start paying social security contributions, and this makes you the healthcare cover. It's important to point that it's for you and or your relatives, your husband or your wife, and your children. Okay, and it's the same fee. You pay only one fee for being self-employed, and you can have any benefit that has to be relatives of you. I mean, not your cousin and your and your father and your father-in-law, but your partner and your children. That's it. Okay, but it's the same price, same quote. Including on that, beside the healthcare cover, you have as well, after you are 6 months paying the social security contribution, after 6 months, then you have the right of have a work leave and get paid by the social security during this work leave. If the doctor says that you are not available to work for a period of time, for example, for COVID, for example, it is unusual work leave that has been happening sadly in the last few months. Lastly, the last benefit of being paid in social security is that you are contributing for your pension in the future when you retire. So these are the three coverage that you have. And well, no, there are a fourth, which is that you have as well right to have a disability pension if you're for any reason you are not available to work anymore for any accident or any illness or whatever. These last three, the 3 and 4, the pension and the disability pension has you have to be a minimal time contributing. For a pension of retirement, you have to be minimal 15 years contributing to the system, and for being eligible to have a disability pension, you have been contributing for more than 5 years. Okay, so that's mainly the coverage of the social security contribution as a self-employed. You asked me about the flat rate. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. The new entrepreneurs in Spain, doesn't matter Spaniard or expat, it's the same. They have the right to pay a flat rate during the first 2 years. The first year is the cheapest. If you are under 45, you will pay around 60 euros per month. And if you are above 45, you will pay around 80 euros per month. It's not more expensive because you are older. It's just that when you are older than 45, the system is compelling you to contribute a bit more because you are nearer to your retirement age. So they increase the base of calculation. These amounts are with the minimal. You can always choose to pay higher social security to have higher coverage, to have, for example, a higher payment in case of a work leave, or to have a higher pension in the future. I'm talking always about the minimal, which is 95% of the self-employed pay for the minimal. Beside that, I later, if you want, I can explain you why, because the system, if you want to increase your social security contribution, there are other options with insurance companies to cover that, which is more interesting than increase the social security contribution, and you have control over that. But this is another business. So the flat rate during the first year is around 60 or 80, depending on your age, below or above 45. and 80, almost 90 actually. And this is during the first year, and during the second year we have to split in two parts. During the first 6 months of the second year, you will the benefit will be reduced, so you will pay a bit more, and it will be around those that has been paying 60 will pay around 130, and those that has been paying 80 will be about 150 or 60, I think. We can leave a link in the description later if you want with the table, because I don't have the exactly numbers in my mind.
Yeah,
but during the second half of the second year, again, it will be increased, and in the first month of the third year is when you will going to start paying the standard amount as any other self-employed, which is roughly now very near to 300 euros when you are below 48, and a bit more than 300 euros when you are above 48.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a new system coming in. That's another thing that Chris Holmes was asking. We hear rumours that the system may change to enable fairer contributions depending on the income or expected income. Is that going to come in soon?
Yeah, well, this is a new system that is coming since 10 years ago. So
that's the speed of bureaucracy in Spain.
Yeah, who knows? It's a bit difficult to put that. This new system that a lot of people are waiting for it is a system that people is going to contribute based on the income that they have. So if you have higher income, you will pay more. If you have lower income, you will pay less. As you know, Spain is a country of it's the country of the tricks. So people are a lot tricky against the tax office and the social security. We know that. The politics knows that. So they are trying to find a way to do that without. If they do that tomorrow, half of the self-employed will say that they are not earning any money and they will stop invoicing, which will make a chaos on the system, because people will start reducing the official income that they are declaring to pay less social security, which will mean to pay less VAT, which means to pay lower tax return. And been working with black money. So it's very, very complicated to do that, at least in Spain. Maybe in Sweden it's a good system, but in Spain it's going to be hard, in my opinion. This will not come very easily, surely.
Yeah. There's a lot of people complaining on Facebook about that self-employment is really, really expensive, and
it is,
and saying that the new system will be even worse for some people.
The thing, it's a bit complicated, but we can chat if you want a little bit about the situation of those that are becoming self-employed and they are not earning more than the minimal salary, which is roughly 1,000 euros in Spain now, a little bit less. The thing is that the law, the Social Security law says that when you become self-employed and when you start developing an activity, you have to make the registration in the tax office and make the registration in the Social Security office and start paying Social Security contributions. But on the other hand, there are a few sentencias. I don't know how to say that in English. Sorry, there are a few. In Spain, there is something which is the Tribunal Supremo, which is the higher court hall in Spain, which is in Madrid, and a few cases of self-employed that were earning lower amount, maybe 500 euros per month or something, and they decide to not pay in Social Security because they say, okay, I'm earning 500 euros per month, so I can't afford 300 euros of only Social Security, earning 500 euros per month, which is, it has common sense. But the law is not understanding this situation. So the court hall in Madrid says several times that the client, the citizen, is right, and they give the reason to the citizen against the Social Security, and they say, okay, you're right, you can't afford that. So they said that those that are earning lower amounts than the minimal salary, which, as I said, is a little bit less than 1,000 per month, they can avoid paying Social Security contribution. That was the court hall said, but and they actually said that the Social Security Office should change the law, the Social Security law, but they didn't yet. Okay, and this was 5 years ago or kind of. So the thing is that we have in a limbo situation where if you are earning less than the 1,000 euros per month or less than 900 euros per month, you can decide to do the registration at the tax office and not make the registration on the Social Security and not paying Social Security contribution. But you are on risk of the Social Security coming and tell you, okay, why you are not paying Social Security contribution? And then you have to defend your position, and you will need to go probably to the Tribunal Económico Administrativo, which is the statement where the court hall where is sorted out these things in every province, and you have to try to win against the Social Security on that statement. And if you lose, you have to claim again and go to the Tribunal Supremo in Madrid. But this is an expensive process, of course. And if you start your activity and you are developing your activity during maybe 3 years, and the Social Security comes then and say that you have to pay Social Security for the last 3 years every month, and not only the 300 euros, but you have to put on top an extra cost for late payment, interest, etc. So
that's
we can be talking about a few thousand euros easily. So this is the problem. The problem is that people are normally scared to be on this risky situation, and there are a lot that are doing that are making the registration at the tax office and not paying Social Security contribution. There are a few that are discovered by the Social Security and they go against them. Then happen a lot of different things. There are a few that go to they send a writing to the Social Security, and the Social Security. The problem in Spain is that we have a situation very unpredictable. If I don't know if that's the right word.
Unpredictable, yes. Yeah.
Unpredictable, thank you. Because maybe I have a client in Granada that has this problem with the Social Security office of Motril, because the Social Security offices are, there are a few in each province. So maybe I have this problem with a client in Motril, and the Social Security office of Motril sent a writing to the client saying, why you are not paying Social Security? Well, it's not this question, but this is the meaning of the letter. And we reply this letter saying, no, I'm not paying because this is my earnings. I do that not every month. I deliver the activity just sometimes during the year. I have a few projects during the year, and the Social Security office say, okay, understood, no problem, you don't need to pay it. But you have maybe the same problem with the Social Security office in Malaga, and exactly the same case, and you reply exactly the same, and they say, no, you have to pay. And if you are not agree, go to the Tribunal Económico Administrativo. And it's exactly the same case. So the problem in Spain, not only with this, but with a lot of things, is the different criteria that the different offices have in different places, which put you in a difficult position to decide what to do, because the criteria is different from provinces, and the criteria change when the boss of this office change. Because if the boss of the Social Security office of Motril is transferred to Malaga, then the criteria of Motril will be applied in Malaga. But if the one that comes to Motril is the one that came from Jaén, and the criteria of he or her is different, it changes, and you never know that. So sometimes it's difficult to say to the client, hey, they always ask, Antonio, I'm earning this 600 euros per month, and I only work 3 months or 5 months a year. What should I do? I have to answer, I don't know. I mean, it's playing a card game, you never know. So it's a difficult answer.
Yes. Let's move on to different kinds of clients. There's can you, a self-employed person, open a limited company, or is that a different thing? And what are the differences between that and a solo business?
Okay. Well, it's quite different, developing an activity as a self-employed is much easier. It's complicated in Spain as anything, but it's much more complicated to open and sell a limited company. On the one hand, mainly I always advise my client to start becoming self-employed when they are going to start a new business, because you are always on time in any moment to open an SL and transfer the business to the SL. Okay. The main reason to open a limited company in Spain are fiscal benefits, because the tax rate of an SL, of a limited company, is 25%, which is fixed. It's a fixed flat. It's a flat tax rate. Sorry, but for individuals, for self-employed, the tax rate is not fixed. Is being increased when your level of income is increased. So it goes from 19% up to, I think now is 47 or 46%, the maximum one when you are in higher levels of income. Mainly, you start having real benefit of open an SL when your yearly profit, not income, profit, net profit, is above 50 or 60,000 per year. Okay, when you are above this limit, then it makes a bit of sense to open an SL. But if you are earning 20,000, 30,000, or 40,000 per year, in my opinion, has no sense to open an SL, because open an SL means that you will need to, when you are a self-employed, you have to manage with your invoices, the invoices that you do to your clients of your services or your selling, depending if you are a professional delivering services or a shop selling anything. So you have to do the invoices of your clients for these services or these sellings. And you have to manage your bills of your expenses and your investment. If you buy something, if you buy a vehicle, or if you buy a laptop or something which is considered an investment, then you have to put that into your account. But the tax office is, when you are self-employed, don't care about your bank account, for example. They don't care about when you are paid, when your clients pay to you, or when you pay to your providers. They don't care about that. They only care about the invoices and the bills, and you have to do the accounting books of your incomes. You normally, the gestor, do the accounting books of your income, the accounting books of your expenses, and separate accounting books for your investment. 3 books. Okay, you have to do the tenancy of these 3 books and make the tax forms, submitting, etc. But when you are an SL, when you are a limited company, besides of all this, which is the same, you have to do statements of your bank statement, your cash. I mean, anything that is paid to the social security, to the limited company, it doesn't matter if it's through the bank or with cash, you have to account in it. So you have to do that, or you have to have someone to deal with it, which is an additional expense or an additional time for you to dedicate to the business. And the same with your expenses, with your income and your expenses, ingoing and outgoing. And all this has to be put together on accounting books and declared to the Chamber of Commerce every year in April. We have to prepare a submission, which is called Presentación de Libros, and we have to submit these accounting books to the Chamber of Commerce on April every year. Besides of this is only with limited company, not self-employed, sole self-employed. Okay. Beside of this, we have to do another presentation of the cuentas anuales, which is another different type of accounting books. We show your profit, show how you are expending the money on the limited company, if you have delivered dividends between the owners of the society or not, different things that you have to declare. And we have to do that every year in July, before the 30th of July. And besides of this, we have to do the corporate tax every year before the 25th of July, which is actually what we are managing now on the Gestoria. So this means that the Gestoria, if is going to carry out with an SL instead of a self-employed, probably they are going to pay 3 times or 4 times fees of the one that they will be applying for you if you will be only self-employed. I don't know if this is going to bother anyone, but in my opinion, there are a lot of gestors that push their clients to open an SL in Spain when they start a business, and there is no real benefit for the client to do that. The real benefit is for the gestoria, because they are going to have to apply fees to this client 3 times or 4 times the fees that they will apply if they will start the business only as an individual, only as a self-employed, which is absolutely no, it's not honest, of course. But I see that every day. So there are a lot of people saying, when you want to start a business, open an SL, open an SL. My opinion has no sense, has no benefit. Only if you have more than 50 or 60,000 per year of profit, then you can start thinking on opening an SL.
Good. I just noticed it's gone. Normally we do these broadcasts till 11 o'clock. And how much time do you have? Because we have a lot more questions.
As you prefer, no problem. I have time. No problem.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. So let's move on. Is it difficult to hire someone as an employee, as self-employed?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat the question?
Is it difficult to hire someone as an employee?
Oh, well, not difficult. As anything else, paperwork, is something that, of course, you can't manage for your own. The gestor or assessor has to deal with in your behalf. In this case, has to be a gestor that deal with labor things. We deal with both, with fiscal and labor, but there are a few gestor or a few assessorias that deal only with fiscal or only with labor. Okay, but most of them normally deal with both. And my advice always is to go with a gestoria that deal with both, because have the fiscal things in one place and the labor things in a different place sometimes makes a bit of confusion. So if you want to hire someone, you have to firstly see the profile of the potential employee to find the best contract for him or her, because there are different depending on the age, depending on the previous experience or the previous formation on this job. You can do different kinds of laboral contract, and some of them can have benefits and discount on the social security contribution and other not. So it's very important to find the best one. Of course, can be. You have to decide as well if it's going to be a full-time contract or part-time contract. Declaring if it is a part-time contract, you have to declare the time of when this person is going to work. For example, Monday to Friday from 10 to 12 or whatever. And you have to. There is a new thing since a few years ago, which is that you have to do in the workplace. You have to have a page, a control of when the worker is starting and finishing the job, when they entry and they do checking and check out. Okay, and they have to sign. This can be done manually in a piece of paper, or it can be done electronically with the phone. There are a few apps to do that, but most people do it manually with a paper that we deliver to the client, and they just put the time and they sign. And this is something which is very important to do, because if you have a laboral inspection on the workplace, they will ask for that, and if you don't have it, you will get a fine. So it's something that sometimes a lot of people are not very concerned about that, and it is important to do it properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard I know one of the questions I had was from somebody saying, is it possible to learn how to do this yourself and do your tax return yourself? And that goes with the question I was going to ask you, which how important is it to have a gestor, or is this something you can learn? Is there a course you can take?
Well, of course, I have to say you need a gestor, but to be honest, you can deal with your own tax if it's very, very simple. I mean, if you are employee in Spain, and when you are employee, the business you are employee for is going to declare your income and your retention and your expenses to the tax office. So this information is going to be there in tax office. If you don't have any other benefits to apply on your tax return, then the tax return can be done easily. Dealing with the tax office, you can ask for an appointment at the tax office in May, for example, every year, and you can go to the tax office and deal with it easily, or actually you can manage on internet as well, online. But if you have a different situation, if you're a pensioner, if you have different sources of income, for example, you have a rental of a property in the UK or in Spain, or you have maybe incomes from dividends, or you maybe can be eligible for any kind of fiscal benefits because of the autonomy community you are living. This different situation is something that normally it's better that a professional study the situation and tell you if it's possible to apply this or that, and how it's necessary to declare the pension. For example, a pensioner, you can think that a pensioner is easy because it's someone that is a bit similar, get a pension that being getting paid leaves from a company, but it's a bit different when you are getting a pension from the UK, because firstly, the tax office has no information about that, so you have to declare it manually on the submission. And on the other hand, the fiscal year is different from the UK to Spain. In England, it's from April to April, and in Spain, it's from January to December. So you have to consider that when you do the calculation. It's not very complicated, but for someone that is not dealing with that every day, it's something that you can easily do a mistake there. So, and of course, with the tax office, any mistakes is punished highly. So it's something that normally you're going to pay a gestor more or less depending the complication of your submission. So probably it's better to pay a gestor to do it and be safer, know that the submission is done properly. And in the last case, if it's not done properly, the gestor, as I said at the beginning, the gestor will have the liability over that. So if you get a fine, you won't pay it. The gestor will pay it, or the insurance of the gestor will pay this fine.
I can't imagine trying to do them myself on the numbers and forms. Numbers and forms make my head explode. That's too much.
There are brave people. There are brave people everywhere that try to do it. But my advice is to do it only when it's a very, very easy submission, or if you have if you have formation for doing that, if you have been dealing with the tax. I have a few clients, for example, that has been tax advisors in the UK that now are retired in Spain, and when they come every year to do the tax return, they actually say, I don't know how. I have a few friends that do the tax return in Spain for themselves, and I don't know how they are so brave. We were tax accountants in the UK, but we are not going to afford that in Spain. It's absolutely different.
Fair enough. Talking about the UK, Matt Duffy asked a question here. As Autonomo, there's actually two questions, but as Autonomo, do I have to pay IVA, which is VAT, isn't it, when my business operates completely in the UK? So he's resident in Spain, I think, but all of his clients are in the UK and all his sales are in the UK. Does he need to pay IVA?
No, you don't need to, because when you are self-employed registered in Spain, I understand that he's meaning that he's resident, he or she, I don't know, he's resident, he is resident in Spain, and he is self-employed in Spain, because you should be, if you are resident in Spain and you are developing an activity as a self-employed, you should become self-employed in Spain, not in the UK. I say that because I have a lot of cases when they come to my office that maybe they became resident in Spain 2 or 3 years ago, and they have been self-employed in the UK while they were resident in Spain, which is absolutely wrong. So this is something to consider. Considering that he is self-employed in Spain and resident in Spain, when he delivers services, I think he's a professional delivering services. When you do that in Spain, you have to consider if your activity is subject to VAT or not, depending on the activity, the type of activity. But when you are developing, when you have the client outside Spain, the activity is going to not be subject to VAT because of, in the case of the The UK, that now it's outside Spain, is for the Article 69 of the VAT law, because it's an exportation of services, which means that it's a special type of income that is free of taxes because of this situation that you are dealing with a business which is outside Europe. Okay.
Yeah.
When is inside Europe, for example, if this person will be dealing with a client in France or Italy or Ireland, then you don't need to charge VAT. But before doing that, it's very important that you have to do a registration as a operador intracomunitario, as an European operator, and you have to get the registration of your VAT number into the BS system. It's a system in Europe where all the businesses that are dealing with each other in Europe, they have to be registered on, and so every business can check the VAT number of each other into this system to check that they are registered, and both parties should do that when they start dealing with each other, and then you can do the bill exactly the same without VAT. The only difference is that you have to do this registration first. It's a registration that you do through the model 036, and when you do it until you cancel, is working forever. And but then doing this registration means that every quarter you have to submit a new form, which is the model 349, where you have to declare and split the bills and invoices that you have between other European operators. So if it's for the UK, you don't need to do that. You only do the invoice without VAT and declare on your quarterly forms and your accounting this invoice without VAT, and that's it, mainly. Where you have to declare this at the end of the year, you have to declare that in a separate field on the tax form to declare this kind of operation in the model 389, modelo 390, which is the briefing of the VAT quarterly forms that we have to do every year in January. Okay. So the answer is yes. You can do the invoice without VAT. Okay.
Excellent. So let's talk about the invoices. Actually, the same person was asking. I understand that I have to produce invoices for Spanish accounting purposes, but do I actually have to send them to my clients? It's an unusual question.
Well, you have to do it, as he said. You should send it to your client, but actually the client is the one that has to ask for the invoice. I mean, you have to do it and you have to declare it, but unless the invoice has something which is called retention. When retention is when if you do the invoice to another professional, you have to apply a 7% or 15%, depending on other variables of how many years you have been registered as a self-employed. During the first 3 years is 7%, and later is 50%. So if the invoice that you do is for another professional that you have to apply retention, then you need to have a proof of delivering this invoice to your client for you to be available in the future to prove to the tax office that this person knew that this retention has been applied, because this retention has to be paid by your client into the tax office. So you have to be available to prove that this person knew that this retention should be paid, and if it's not paid, it's his fault or her fault. Okay. So, but
and if that client is in the UK, is that the same as
no? Only if it's another professional in Spain. On any other cases, you don't have to apply retention. Actually, you only need to apply retention if your activity is professional activity. Not all the activities are professional activity. For example, I'm Gestor. My profession is a professional activity. But if you have another business, for example, marketing services, is not professional. It's something that you have to see with the activity code of your activity. There are separate areas. There is actividades económicas, which is not non-professional activities, and other list of professional activities, and other list of artist professions, as an actor, for example. I think you are an actor as well, right? So, so actor is an artist into the artist list, and so only the professionals has to make this retention when they invoice to another professional. Okay, but beside this special situation, any other invoices to another professional, sorry, in Spain. Okay, only in Spain. So beside this special situation, which is when you have to apply retention on your invoices, all the other invoices that you do is going to be only with the base of the invoices, and maybe the VAT or not, depending of the other situations. But you don't need to have a proof of delivering this invoice to your client. Of course, you have to declare it in your accounting books and into your tax returns, but it's not necessary to have a proof of being delivering that. But of course, if a client asks you a copy of the bill, you have to immediately send it to them, no doubt. It is a fault if a client asks you for the bill and you don't reply sending the bill. Of course, this is something that can be claimed by the client in the tax office or whatever.
So do you have any other hints and tips and rules about invoicing?
Well, there are a lot. Actually, my job during the quarterly forms time mainly is being correcting mistakes with clients, because there are a lot of little mistakes that normally does one. Normally, with during the first or the first few quarters when they have been working a few quarters in Spain, they learn how to do invoices and they do it fantastic. But normally there are, when you start being self-employed and you start invoicing, there are usual mistakes. For example, when you do an invoice, you have to do there are different types. This is something I don't know if left. It's a bit difficult to explain that. We have time to wait to stop 5 minutes to explain how to invoice, or do you?
Yeah, let's do that. Are we frozen now?
Can you hear me, Andrew?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, you were frozen. I said we have 5 minutes to explain. Okay, we're back. Do we have 5 minutes to explain briefly the different types of invoices, etc., or do you think it's better to move to another question?
I think we can take a few minutes. Yes, yeah, it's important, isn't it?
Okay, so I'm going to try to explain that, which is a bit difficult in a few minutes, but I will try. There are different types of invoices. When I say invoice, an invoice is always a piece of paper that you do from you to your client. Okay, when you get an invoice from your provider, I normally don't call that invoice. I call that bill, because I'm always talking from the point of view of my client. Okay, so for my client, when they deliver a service or they sell something, they do an invoice to their client. And when they get an invoice from their provider, I call that a bill. Okay, so we are going to talk now about invoices, not bills. Okay, about invoices, not about expenses, but ingoing. So when we talk about invoices, we have to consider that there are two different types of businesses. One of them is a service provider, and another is a shop or someone that is selling something. Okay. My clients, most of them, expat that comes to Spain, 90% of them are delivering services. Normally, I have a few that are opening shop or businesses, selling something, or restaurant or something. But 90%, I don't know why, they are professionals that are delivering services. So I'm going to focus on that. When you are delivering a service and you have to do the invoice to your client, you have to consider that you can do two different types of invoices. One of them is called factura simplificada, which is a more simple type of factura, or factura ordinaria. Okay, factura simplificada is a special type of factura. Factura means invoice, okay, in Spanish. Factura simplificada is a special type which is valid you can do it up to 400 euros, not more than this, only up to 400 euros. and you can do this invoice with or without the details of your client. Okay, you can decide. So you can do a factura simplificada just saying in the field for the client's detail, you can say, for example, cliente contado or cash or any word that you want to use there, or general clients or whatever, without saying name or anything. And it's fine for the tax office. It's okay. It means that is, for example, if you are delivering yoga class and it's 30 euros, the client comes, you deliver the class, you get 30 euros in cash, and you do a factura simplificada of 30 euros for your own accounting. Probably this factura simplificada is not going to be given to your client because they only pay and they don't mind. Or maybe you give another kind of receipt or something, and later at the end of the week or whatever, you dedicate time to make the invoices for the work that you have been delivering during the week, for example. So at the moment you do the factura simplificada for taking your schedule. You do, okay, I got 2 classes on Monday, 3 classes on Tuesday. So you do the factura simplificada number 1, 2, 3, whatever. And you don't have maybe the details of the client because you're not going to ask someone that is coming to a yoga class for his DNI or NI number. It's something not usual. So you can use this type up to 400 euros and it's okay. But it is an usual mistake that when you do that you put, okay, I don't have the information complete on it, but I know that his name is Peter, for example. So I put the factura simplificada, I put Peter. This is wrong. If it's a factura simplificada and it's on name, it's on name. Any name can be shown there. Can be shown cash, can be shown general clients, or whatever, but you can't put the name, even if you have the complete name. If you want to fill it complete, you have to fill it complete with name, surname, NIE, and address. If you don't have all this information, don't put any information about the client on the factura. You can put all or nothing. So this is a very, very, very common mistake. So all or nothing, okay? On the factura simplificada. If you do a factura ordinaria, which can be done, has to be done above 400 euros when you deliver a service of more than 100 euros, but it can be done with less as well. You actually, for example, if you want, you can do all your invoices factura ordinaria and don't do any factura simplificada. But a factura ordinaria always, always, always has to have the complete information of your client: name, NIE or DNI, and address, always. Mm-hmm. If you are delivering a service to anyone which is more than 400 euros, it's strange that you don't have the details of the client. It means a closer relationship between you or your clients if you are doing something for more than 400 euros. So the tax office understands that it's not strange or it's not something difficult to get the complete information from your client. So you have to do it that way. It's easy. I repeat: complete name and surname, NIE or DNI number. If you don't have the DNI or the client is a foreigner and doesn't have the NIE number, it has to be the passport number. It's valid as well when you are delivering a service to an individual, but you have to ask the passport number. We are talking about that, and it seems to be easy, but sometimes I have clients that, for example, are delivering jobs in platforms, for example, Fiverr.com, or there are a few platforms that are acting to put in touch clients with service providers. Sometimes are services for more than 400 euros, and the service provider don't have easy access to the client's details, or it's a bit strange when you contract something online that you ask to the other person, can you tell me your passport number, please? Say, well, what do you need that for? You are maybe doing a website for me for 500 euros, and I'm paying you through PayPal, but I don't want to give you my passport number. So in those cases, we have to do what we can, and if we have a confirmation from the tax office, we will need to explain that was not possible to access to this information. But another point important to consider when you do invoices is to number the invoices properly. Every year, you have to start with number 1, and has to be consecutive in dates and numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't start with, for example, I have a client that when they start the first invoice, they put, for example, number 101 because they don't want to look as a new business. They prefer to look as has been in business for months, you know.
Yeah.
I know, I understand, but officially you can't do that. You have to start with number 1, and the client can know that it's the first client, but that's how it is. So you have to start with number 1, number 2, number 3. If you do the number 3 today, you can do the number 4 dated yesterday, because this is not correlative. Okay, it's something again easy, but it's easy to make mistake when you are not used to deal with that. You can do that, the invoices, manually with a book that you buy in a bookshop, or you can do it electronically. We have, for example, we are partnered of a website which is called holded.com, and they have an invoices program which is free up to 50 invoices per year, and it's only 9 euros per month if you do less than 500 invoices per year. And we are connected with the client, and it's very easy to share information, share the paperwork. There are a lot of different software for invoicing. So, but you can do as you prefer. You can use spreadsheets on your laptop. For example, we have free spreadsheet for free templates for doing invoices that we normally provide to our clients if they prefer to deal on the laptop only with Excel, and that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So mainly that's the usual mistakes with invoices.
Okay. Shall we go? Let's move on to expenses then.
Wow, expenses. That's
another big topic. Yeah.
That's a topic for another conversation, actually, but we can do a quick briefing. Expenses in Spain is, and the question is very good because we have actually a very recent sentencia from the Tribunal Supremo, saying that we were talking about the situation with self-employed earnings, with earnings below 1,000 euros. We have another sentencia from Tribunal Supremo this year, a few weeks ago, which is actually regarding expenses, because the situation is that in Spain, the tax office law says that to apply an expense or to offset an expense, you have to be available to prove that this expense is being used 100% to your activity, to develop your activity, and to convert into income. Okay, so for example, if we talk about that you, for example, rent a local, no problem. You rent a local to open your office, so that's an expense. The rental is an expense. The light, the electricity, I mean, and the water bills, etc., of the local, no problem. And you can offset that. But what if you work from your home, for example? Then it's a difficult situation, because how can you prove what part of the expense is being used for you to work and what part is for your personal life? For example, in this case, we have a regulation that says that you have to declare a space on your home that is dedicated only for working. If you have a room, for example, it's something easy. But if you work on your laptop, what can we declare? 2 square meters? It's difficult.
Yeah.
So and you have to apply a percentage when we offset the bills of clients working from home. We have to apply the percentage of the area of the house that is being used for working, considering the total site. I mean, for example, if you have a room of 10 square meters on a house of 100 square meters, this is at 10%.
10%.
And beside of that, the tax office understand that you are not working every day, and all the time. You have to sleep, you have to take a rest. So they consider that maximum self-employed is working 50 hours per week, which is makes sense. But so this means a 30% of the time of the week. So over the 10% because of the space that you're using, the tax office considers that you use this space for working only at 30% of the time of the week. So 30% over 10% is 3%. Okay.
Okay.
So regarding, for example, the rental of your home, if this is a situation, if you have a room of 10 square meter in a house of 100 square meter, we can apply we can offset at 3% of the expense of your rental, of your electricity, of your water bill. At the end of the day, what happened that normally people don't expend the time of finding bills of the rental, of the electricity, etc., to apply only 3% in this case, because if you don't have a room, if you have only a desk with your laptop, it's maybe 2 or 3 square meters, so at the end of the day, it can be maybe a 1%, the relief that you can apply. So at the end of the day, working from home, applying expenses is not something that normally works. But I have a case, for example, which is a lady that is a personal trainer and has a 2 floors house. The main floor is the place for living, and the second floor is a gym. And she declared the whole floor as the working area because it's where she is training their clients. So in this case, 50% of the expenses of the house are offset. But beside this type of special situation, normally it doesn't work. This is regarding home expenses, okay? Another problem is, for example, regarding transportation of your vehicle. For example, in the tax office in Spain, you have to prove how this expense is helping you to get clients or to get income. And this is something very, very difficult to prove. How you can prove how much of when you go to the gas station and you pay fuel for 50 euros, how can you prove that this 50 euros has been used for you to get clients and not to go into the supermarket? It's very complicated. So it's an usual argument that we have with the tax officer when we try when a client is applying expenses for the vehicle and for transportation, etc. We normally need to have the schedule of the client to prove the visits that they do to clients. But the problem is that until now, I'm going to explain the situation until now, before this new sentencia that has been appearing a few weeks ago. Until now, the problem is that you need to do something which is called in Spanish, correlación de ingresos y gastos, which means that you have to explain how this expense is linked to an income. So if you have an expense, you have to explain to the tax officer this expense. Okay, you put 50 euros of fuel on the 19th of April of 2020. Okay, this fuel, which with invoices is linked, which client did you visit, and you convert that in an income. So then I can accept this expense as an expense. Okay. When you visit a client, sometimes the business is closed and sometimes not. You not always sell your business, your services. So normally we go with the schedule of the client to prove the visit that they normally do, that he's doing during the year. Or sometimes we have the contract of to prove the distance between the house of the person and the house of the client to show how many kilometers are. But it's very, very complicated. And normally people send us the bills, but don't send this explanation or the schedule or something. It's difficult for them to understand why the tax office want to check that. But this new sentencia actually say that it's not, it shouldn't be necessary, that the sentencia or the judge says that it's not fair by the tax office be as straight as this. It's not, it shouldn't be necessary to link the expenses, the indirect expenses, with the generation of income, because sometimes you have to do something, as for example, going to have a lunch with a client to upgrade your relationship between you and your client, and you maybe pay for the food for both of you because you think it's a good, it's gentle to do that, and it may help with your relationship with your client. Until now, the tax office don't accept this kind of expense. They can accept your own meal when you are working outside your office with a limitation. This is called dietas, and you can apply and offset different levels depending if you are depending how far are you from your home, and depending if you are in Spain or outside Spain, you can apply on dietas a maximum amount per day for food and for accommodation for hotels. But if you pay, this is only for your expenses. If you pay to for your client's venue, this is not included as an expense until now. Okay, this is something that is again very difficult to prove that why you are doing that. So this sentencia is saying exactly that, saying that the self-employed are having every day a lot of expenses that are very difficult to prove that are related to income, and they shouldn't be forced to prove that as far as this to be available to apply these expenses against taxes. Okay. So this is something really, really new. We don't know if the tax office is going to change their opinion based on this sentencia, or is going to change the law a little bit. But the situation is been changing, no doubt. Okay, so it seems that in the future it's going to be a bit easier to apply expenses, but until now it's very difficult to apply all the expenses that in reality a self-employed has. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if all this makes sense.
It does. Yes, it's very different from what happens in Ireland and the UK, but
absolutely,
it all makes sense. We should move on. I don't know if I've covered all of the questions that I'm just going to name the people who sent questions in just to say thank you to them. Casey, Matt Duffy, welcome. Jane Macaulay, Cole Farrell. Is that Colin Farrell, the famous actor? I don't know. And Chris Holmes. They've asked some very detailed questions actually, which I don't think we have time to cover. But let's just finish off with.
Well, I will be glad. I will be glad if you give my contact details to these visitors. So I will be glad to have a private chat with them after that.
Perfect.
Next Monday, not today, please.
Not today, no, absolutely not. I'll put your web details under. It's already in the description. Actually, I have the Spanish one, but if you could send me the English one, was it paperwork.es?
Paperwork.es. Well, it's 19%. It's 90% finished. So please, I do apologize if there is any little mistake there, but it's working.
Okay, but yes, they can still contact you through the Spanish one anyway and give you a phone call.
No problem.
So the final question, are there any things that you wish your clients would do better to help you with their accounts?
Well, after the lockdown, actually, we have changed a lot the way the workflow with our clients, okay? We started to do that actually before the lockdown. We started to do that in 2018, but we encourage our clients a lot after the lockdown to really do the change, which is not normally in Spain. The gestoria is something usual that the people, the clients deliver the paperwork to the gestoria every 3 months. So then the gestoria has to do during approximately 10 days all the accountings of all the clients, which means that we sometimes has to have a reinforcement. We need to enroll more people during this time of during this month to be available to afford this more duty time, or how can I say, or more stressful time for doing all that on time. So what we change is that we have, with 90% of our clients, we have a monthly flow now. A lot of them are using, as I said, a platform which is called holded.com, and it's very useful for sharing information. Others prefer to drop all the paperwork on a Drive folder and share with us, for example, so we can access. So what we do is that we work monthly on the accounting, and actually this way is better for both parties, because if we see any mistake or anything wrong, we point that then, so the client has time to sort it out before the submission time of the quarterly fund, which is much better, because we are not in a rush to always be sorting out things in the last minute. So mainly, what I wish from my client is have this workflow more frequently, to be available to work in advance to avoid problems, etc.
Yeah.
With time.
Excellent. So much good advice. Thank you so much, Antonio. You've been amazing. And
thank you to you.
Yes, and
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody for watching. And we'll all say goodbye to Antonio now, and then I'll round up the program. So one last big wave, and thanks so much. And I'll see you very soon, Antonio.
Okay, I will be more than happy to join you again another time if you have more questions regarding my business. No problem.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So
okay,
bye bye for now.
Bye. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, so that is nearly time up, everyone. If you have any more questions, ask them in the comments below, and I'll get you some answers, or go directly to Antonio. His details are in the description. And there you have it. If you've gained some insight from this video, click on the like, thumbs up. Next week on U2 Spain, I'll be talking to Stephen Proctor again, who's actually a client of Antonio's. And if you remember last time, he talked about running a B&B in Spain, which was brilliant. And he's back by popular demand this time. He'll be giving us his perspective on being self-employed as his business in Spain. So join us for that next Saturday at the usual time of 10:30 if you're in Spain. That's 9:30 if you're in the UK or Ireland. And don't forget to check out the Liz and Skatz channel. All of the details are in the description below, and U2 Yoga, where you can have free yoga and meditation classes, and U2 Aromatherapy. Those are both Liz's channels. And if you'd like to support the channel, buy the t-shirts and everything else that comes with them. Merchandise page details are down below. That's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe and click on the bell, ting, and if you haven't already done that, and I will see you soon. Peace and love. Take care.